Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. Welcome, everybody, to the best Iowa women's basketball show on the internet, all because of the person to my right. Hawkeye great Kachine Alexander is with me following Iowa's 87-84 loss inside Carver-Hawkeye Arena. Cash, looks like you're feeling better. Sounds like you're feeling better. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting week, I would say. Thank you all for telling me to go see the doctor, because on Monday I was diagnosed with COVID and bronchitis. So appreciate the advice. But yeah, definitely better now. I think I'm on the bright side of the tunnel. So yeah.
It shows you how tough kids can be, because Juliana had it early, right?
Yeah. So everybody had like the flu at the beginning of the year, and then I got sick again. And I just thought it was, just lingering. And then everybody was saying I need to go see somebody. I'm like, you know what? I have been sick a long time. So yeah, this time it was something different.
Well, it's good to see you feeling better, and boy, so much to get to. Like I say that every night this team plays. I don't really know where to start, other than let's address the elephant in the room to start. Okay. We really don't need to start with anything else. This team lost.
Mm-hmm.
The reason the team lost the game tonight is because of this stat. It's because of this stat. Right?
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong, because you played the game at the highest of levels. You get outshot like that at the free throw line. 18-22 for the Huskers at the line. Iowa went 16 of 29. They missed 13 free throws. And as I said to you during the game, most of those misses came from guards. So,
yes. At the end of the day, are there things that coaching staff, Coach Jay, could have done better? Yes, I'll get into those. But at the end of the day, this was lost by the players. It's really as simple as that. I think that overall, I would give Coach Jay's substitution a B+ this game. I think that she rode the wave pretty well. There were some times where I felt like I was like, what is happening, right? Like, why is Hannah sulky? I understand when she took her out for a second, right? After she missed those 2 free throws. I thought she was using that to kind of gather her mind, to kind of put her back in, and then she didn't. And I was like, yeah, that's weird. Okay. And then we need a rebound on a free throw. Why is Addison O'Grady in the game? Get her out. Substitution. Like, put my best rebounder in the game to secure the rebound. But like I said.
May I add one real quick?
Sure.
This probably went unnoticed by some.
Mm-hmm.
And the, other side of the coin will argue, well, it did make a difference because Iowa had a chance in the last possession. But I think a major substitution blunder in this game was in overtime at the 3:58 mark.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy Olson picks up her 4th foul and she heads to the bench. She was on the bench for a critical minute in there.
Mm-hmm.
What are we saving her for? It's overtime. You have not been able to consistently score since when? Early 4th quarter. You do not take your best player out of the game at that point. I don't care how many free throws she's missed. You need her on the offensive end. She sat for a whole minute, then she comes back in. I thought that was odd, but I agree with everything you just said about substitutions as well.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Jan's just trying to figure this out. We saw a change in the starting lineup tonight. What did you think about the decision to start Hannah at the 5? Is something I know you've been an advocate for, but then Kylie stays in and you take out Addison, and it ends up being Taylor McCabe filling in the open spot there.
So since Corey wants to get right into coaching mishaps, we'll just roll right into it. So there's not a lot though. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I thought that Coach Jay, for the most part, like I said, coached the right game, right? You make 75%, which is bare minimum, mind you, of your free throws. We're not even having this conversation. Okay, cool, whatever. But things to be better at, things for Coach Jay and the coaching staff to look at later on, things like that. I'm still not 100% understanding the whole Kylie thing or what's going on with that. I'm not understanding of it. But, okay, let's just say maybe we don't know something.
Played better tonight,
right. Maybe she's seeing something different in practice that we are not seeing. That's what I'm going to go with. Okay. So based off of that, I understand the lineup. I'm not mad at the lineup. I told you that Hannah had to start at the 5 regardless, and I don't care about the rest. I said that, right? So it is what it is. I do feel, however, that the other time when we were talking, we said that some players play better off the bench. I have a feeling that that's Taylor McCabe.
Okay.
And I'm not just taking it off of one game, mind you. It's just something about her aura that I've been around players that are like that. And that's what she gives me as far as like a player who's more comfortable coming off the bench than actually starting. So with that being said, why the hell didn't we foul at the end of regulation?
I don't know.
That's coaching. Okay, I understand the first situation. Maybe I'm like, okay, right. You got a freshman. She may not really understand. She don't want to foul, and the girl is kind of shooting. I'm like, okay.
That's got to be on the coaches. That has got to be on Jan. You got to make that explicitly clear. You have 2 fouls to give. Foul.
I don't know if she did or didn't. This is the same situation with the men's team. And I don't know what the heck was going on.
It's
because
not.
In my mind, listen, if the foul is not called, it don't matter what was said. So,
but no. The men were clearly instructed by their head coach. Foul. You have Josh Dix and whoever it was swing down. Now they may
whose fault is that?
What, that the official wasn't?
That they don't foul.
Well, there was no attempt to foul is what I'm saying. The women didn't even. There was no attempt to foul. That's what we're discussing.
Now again, we don't know. I don't know what was said and wasn't said. Because trust me, I've been in huddles before when we told them to do something and they went out there and did the complete opposite of what we just said. So I have been 100% a part of that. So the second thing is, even now you've got less time on the clock. What are we doing? And then I was confused because Hannah, of all people, you telling me that you couldn't come out and play better defense than that? Like, Come on. Trap her. She's right there on the corner. Like, it's just those kinds of things that again, I can't speculate because I don't know what was said in the huddle. I would hope that you would foul because you have fouls to give. So, hey, I don't know. That was the other question that I had during this whole situation. The other piece is, what the heck were we running in the fourth quarter? And in overtime? What were we running?
A big, you give up an 11-0 run in about 2 minutes. That's defense, right? I mean, I understand you make a couple shots in there, but you have an 11-point lead. And you give up that. I mean, their defense went from really good between beginning of the second quarter to midway through the fourth to being, it was so bad in the first and then so bad late in the fourth. That's Jekyll and Hyde. I have not seen Jekyll and Hyde on that side of the floor during a game from this team this year like we saw tonight.
Yeah, part of that might be is because we ran a little bit more than we normally do, and that could be fatigue. Just saying.
Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah.
But at the same point in time, you can't stop running because that's what got us where we needed to be. Is because we were running. And it's funny because in the end of the fourth into overtime, nobody knew what they were doing. Like, there was no clear cut except for that play where you knew it was to draw the fifth foul on Markowski. I didn't feel like any of our other plays were specifically run for certain things.
Yeah, I don't know what they were running as a whole.
What were we running? I could hear the crowd yelling from my TV.
But that's my point. So when their best offense today, from the first quarter on, their best offense was when they got out and ran. We saw it. They made a concerted effort, I thought, early in their last game to run, and then they went back to walking the ball up the court and the slow
half-court crap. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So they're better when they run. People have said, well, Corey, they don't have the horses to run. Well, they've ran.
Why don't we?
Well, you've talked about this. Hannah's probably the only one that maybe is a natural runner on this team, right?
Naturally, no. But anybody can be taught.
Well, when Lucy makes a committed, and I'm not saying it's her, I'm not saying it's I think it's probably, again, more on, I tend to put more of the onus on the staff for these types of things. But I thought we saw a concerted effort early in this game, Kachine. You tell me I'm wrong.
100%.
Lucy taking charge and saying, let's go.
Yep.
And you saw a couple of times Jan kind of motioning to her team, let's go.
Yeah. And then when Leah came in, she continued that.
Yeah, there was clearly a concerted effort to get them to go. But my thing is, if it was fatigue down the stretch as to why Iowa struggled to score points after the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Okay, first of all, your defense failed you, right? Because you've got to be able to defend. You're 11 with 5 minutes to go. Okay. And again, the flurry of points killed them. 3-point defense killed them. But then the other thing about this is, okay, you're fatigued. If that's what it is, why are you taking Lucy Olson out? Like, when they took her out with 3:58, I'm actually shocked that they had a 3 to tie it at the end of overtime. Because what offense are they running without Lucy Olson on the field, on the court? Excuse me. What are they running? I mean, their offense was already bad with her on the court. Mm-hmm. So I think they're better with both Alea Guyton and Lucy Olson on the floor at the same time.
Yes.
But it's also Taylor McCabe had a 3 that would have been massive that I thought first of all, she probably should have shot that last one, right? Was it Guyton or was it Guyton that passed up the 3 at the end? I guess it was Guyton. She passed off to Sydney Afalter, who, by the way, was 1 of 5 from 3. So I know we've kind of gone all over the place. We got a bunch of people that want to chat. Folks, you can call in by means of the StreamYard link. It's in the description. I also threw it up in the live chat. Again, just sign in under Facebook or Google. Very simple. All your information stays private, but you're able to chat via video or audio only. You can also call into our phone line. It's 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. Let's go to our phone line. Someone who is here very, very early. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
It's Kyle Thompson.
Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Could have been better if we won.
Yep. Absolutely. What you got for Cash?
How you guys? How's you feeling?
How are you feeling, Cash?
Much better than I have been, so that's always a positive.
Good. Like during the game, like when Lucy goes 1 for 5 on the free throw line, she was like, what really got me PO'd is like she was giggling after miss. Like, you can't giggle like, what would you, if you were on the team, if you were playing, what would you say to her if you saw her giggling after a critical miss?
All right, so let's address that, Kyle, before you go to your next thing. Kachine, I want to make something very clear. I have been critical of body language on this show. I recall a couple of years ago, Spencer Petras was caught on the sidelines with Brian Ferentz laughing after an interception. I was very critical of that. At the same time, as I was watching this game, I was asking the same thing Kyle just asked. I do wonder, because Lucy's a very happy person, but I also wonder if her go-to is smiling, laughing when she's nervous, when she's frustrated. It's almost there are people that I have people in my family that do that. I'll be quite frank, that's like they laugh when they're uncomfortable. Did you pick up on that at all? But I'm glad Kyle took the conversation in that direction, because I wanted to ask you, Kachine, about body language and what you've observed from everybody on this team as it relates to body language and facial expressions, and does that matter to you?
Some people are not going to like me right now, but it is what it is. I don't care. This is the one reason why I will tell you that Lucy is never going to be what we all wanted her to be. She's never going to be able to take over a game for this exact reason. The reason why I say that is because you're exactly right, Corey. When she gets uncomfortable, she laughs. True dog mentality, you don't get uncomfortable. You lock in, because this just like ice in your veins. This is nothing. I'm knocking this down. Like we good. There's no uncomfortableness. So for her to be uncomfortable in a pressure situation tells me that she's not a diamond. At the end of the day, she's going to always be that person who is you may not be able to count on in tough situations, because she does become uncomfortable. That's the difference. At the end of the day, you never saw Caitlin worried about nothing. You never saw there's certain people around where they have that dog mentality. Heck, even Kate Martin, like Gabby, it was never a situation where they were like, you could tell that they were nervous or scared or whatever the case is. I knew she was going to miss those. 100%. After she missed the first two, I was like, oh, yeah. And she was still smiling? Because I've already realized what her smile means. It's not the, like, oh, I'm having fun. In those situations, that's exactly what she's doing. She's trying to kind of like it's not funny. I need you to lock in. So no, I don't. We wouldn't get along as teammates.
Talking about her as a baller, not her as a person.
Yes, that is correct.
For a lot of people, they're gonna maybe take offense to what you just said, because they view that quality in someone as charming. They don't.
Not on the basketball court.
Not on the basketball court. But that's what I make very clear. We're talking basketball here. We're not talking life. And I think she's got a great attitude. But I do wonder. That's one thing. It's not just Lucy, but I think it starts with your best player and goes top down, right? And I have wondered, Kachine, during this stretch, and of course everybody's going to be looking at everything under a microscope, but I have wondered with some of the body language that I've observed, if this team lacks, I don't want to say a seriousness, but lacks an intensity that, without question, Caitlin Clark brought. But the other players that you just brought up, Kate Martin, even Gabby Marshall, hey, even Molly Davis, I didn't see that girl smile much. I still think those girls had fun playing the game.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, I have wondered that. Even as I was watching the bench there in overtime, and there was the shot clock review that was under, being looked at on the monitors forever, and they pan over to, Sydney Falter and the players on the bench. Maybe I'm reading into that too much, but I just see a bunch of ladies who are kind of just, I don't want to say nonchalant, but they look like it's just maybe not as important, even as it is to some of the fans. I know that's not true. I know they want to win more than anybody, but the facial expression, body language tells me something else.
Here's the thing with body language, right? I think this team definitely wants to win. The problem is, like I said before, when you don't have that switch, there's only certain people that have it, right? They have a switch, they have the fire, they have those kinds of things. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see. I can't tell you how many times I was laughing in a basketball game. I'm not saying it's because I wasn't having fun. I might be smiling because I'm celebrating, but I don't think I'm like, hee haha, like, nah, let's go. Like, what we need to do. Like, you're locked into what's going on. Because one, you're not nervous. Like, that's the thing. You're locked in. What do we need to do to get this W? Whatever it is, I'm ready to go. Right. If you're nervous and you're thinking about, or you're not confident, that's where all of that other activity, is what I'm going to say, comes into play. And again, if your leader is like Cold Stone Steve Austin, you could never last year be laughing with that kind of team. It just wasn't going to work, right? Now you have, quote unquote, a leader or your best player or whatever you want to call it, who that's what her MO is. So everybody else kind of like follows in line with it. Do you guys remember Sydney and Falter laughing like that last year?
But she's laughing like that now.
That's my point. Because
I'm agreeing with you.
There's a thing. And I just feel like, again, it's not because they don't want to win. It's not because, they're not focused or anything like that. It's just the lack of confidence is what's showing. And that's kind of where I'm now like, okay. Because again, you've got an Aaliyah Guyton who goes up, gets a tough layup, and she's flexing on people. Like, I actually was shocked because hell, I haven't seen that all year. Like we haven't seen like that kind of, intensity, well, since last year, but whatever. We just don't have that. And I think that that's going to be our Achilles heel, is what I'm going to say.
But this is also, I don't want to put the blame solely on Lucy, because when you say top down, doesn't that also fall on the head coach? Because there's also a change from the head coach from Lisa Bluter to Jan Jensen. And something was stated a couple of shows ago that I want to return to. Somebody in the chat was kind of speculating on the dynamic between Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen when they coached together. Mm-hmm. And the speculation was, were those two coaches sort of like a good cop, bad cop? Laughed at that, but sort of agreed to some extent. Can you explain more on that? Like, what was the dynamic with the good cop, bad cop thing with Lisa and Jan? Who was the good cop and who was the bad cop, and did that alternate?
It never alternated. Coach Bluter was the bad cop. That's just what it was. And Coach J was, I used to call it, at least, her mouthpiece. She was always the one to clean up the mess. So whenever there was something or whatever, Lisa Bluter had to be mean or whatever you want to call it, Coach J was always the one to clean up the mess, to talk to the players, to make them feel good of sorts, right? And I won't necessarily say that it's hard for the top down, because that's just the type of players you have. Like, you can't change Lucy.
You're telling me that there's no, you're saying that this all falls on the loss of Clark, not on the loss of Lisa? For the intensity, you're telling me that Lisa was the bad cop, Jan was good cop.
But intensity has nothing to do with the type of dog mentality players you have. You either have it or you don't. That's a fact. That's recruiting. That's nothing to do with your coaches can demand certain things of you, right? Like running and like that kind of thing. But you cannot demand a player who naturally, who they are, is to laugh when they're nervous, all of a sudden become this. That's not going to happen. Like, okay. You just can't do it. So
they recruited
player.
Well, they recruited Lucy. Mm-hmm. She's the third leading scorer in the country, but they recruited her. The same staff that, that was Lisa Bluter that was involved with that, right? This is the same staff that recruited Clark and Kate Martin and Molly Davis and all those players. So they recruited Lucy Olson. But what I'm hearing,
you recruited Lucy Olson in a matter of weeks. That don't count.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Are you telling me that you believe Lucy Olson's lack of killer instinct, that lack of a dog mentality has infected the rest of the team in a sense.
We don't have a leader. So if you don't have a true leader, and your leader doesn't have to be your best player, keep that in mind, okay? If you don't have a true leader, everybody's going to default to who the best player is. That's just how things go, because you're the best player, things run through you. It is what it is. So if you have this, like, I'm going to call it infectious laugh, right? If you have this, like, everything is happy-go-lucky, you're never upset, all of those things, that's usually how the team goes. If you have somebody who is more, y'all, let's get it together, bring it in, rein it in, like, and you have that kind of, 9 times out of 10, the other people who aren't naturally like that are probably going to fall with that. You got Indians and Chiefs at the end of the day. But it's just, the fact of the matter is we don't have leadership. We've been saying that all season. So at the end of the day, that's just going to be what we have. And you cannot change Lucy. I'm not having it.
Yeah, I think that term infectious is unique because that can be good or bad.
That's why they used it.
And I don't think you're saying it's her fault that the team has lost the killer instinct. But I understand what you just said. I hope people listen very closely and carefully to what you just said.
Let me say this, okay? All NBA players, right? When LeBron James was playing with Cleveland and he was with Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
That was like the best Kyrie Irving ever played. Why? Because the pressure was not on him. Then he went to Boston. Mm-hmm. And what happened? Horrible. Because now he had all of this extra pressure instead of just going to play basketball. That's all he wants to do, which is why he works with the Mavs, because he got his road dog over there. He's not good by himself. He's not good on an island. He needs to be the person where he just show up, play basketball, and do his thing. That's Lucy. She don't want to deal with all the other stuff. She just wants to go in, play back. Like, she would have been very good with Caitlin. Why? Because Caitlin is the one that's going to take all of the pressure. And Lucy can just go out there and hoop. She ain't got to worry about nothing. She can just be happy. The pressure ain't on her. She can just hit a basket when she needs to. All of those things. So that's the difference with Lucy in the sense of, like, killer mentality. People who, when the lights are on and we need a bucket, that's a mental thing. It's a kind of that thing. She could be the third leading scorer in the country and still not be good. Kyrie is an amazing player. He just can't be in the spotlight like that. He need to be like, Batman and Robin. Like, he need Robin. So like, that's how I'm trying to articulate what a Lucy is. And I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm sorry if it doesn't. But
I think it makes excellent sense.
Okay.
I think something I don't think it's a bold take, and I don't think you're blaming anybody specifically.
No, not at all.
If anything, it comes back to recruiting. And Kyle, I got to let you go, sir, because we got the other Kyle from Carver. Any parting words for Kachine?
Back to recruiting. She was,
Kyle?
She was on my team. I'll make her a leader. Hello?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You would make her a leader.
Yeah, that's what I need. That's what we need, leaders. Not giggly people, leaders. And hope you feel better and go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Appreciate it, Kyle. All right. We're going to put our next caller on hold, and we welcome in none other than Kyle Huseman of HawkeyeReport.com, who's fresh off Jan Jensen's post-game press conference. Kyle, you're looking good. Appreciate you being here and for your hard work from Carver. I'm sure a very disappointed Jan Jensen post-game again, and this is Iowa's 4th straight loss. Of course, we all know the storylines. Jan has been pretty consistent with her stance after every one of these losses, but they are starting to pile up now. The snowball is going down the mountain, so to speak. And any change in her tenor or her outlook? Do you feel a sense of pressure or panic from Coach Jay at this point?
No, I don't sense any panic of any kind. Obviously, very frustrated with the free throw situation. 16-29 is not going to win you many close games, if any close games. And I should mention, as I'm sitting here right now, Lucy Olson is down here on the court. She's probably put up already 100 free throws since we've walked out here. So she very much understands the magnitude of her 1 of 6 free throws tonight. Obviously out here trying to put in work and go home with a little bit better feeling. But I think, overall, Jan was, for the most part, pretty happy with the game. And I guess I don't know what you guys have been discussing before I hopped on, but I mean, the stats, pretty much outside of the free throw shooting, Iowa played pretty well. Turned it over 13 times in 45 minutes, which is very solid. Out rebounded Nebraska 42-38. Probably could have made a couple more threes, only 30% for the night, but shot 44% for the game. Points off turnovers, Iowa won by 7. Really all the key categories that we've been talking about for Iowa recently went in favor of them tonight, and you don't get the win. It just comes down to those free throws. I mean, they were up 11 and let Nebraska come back, but I mean, if they just make free throws down the stretch, there's no overtime, there's no discussion about a 4-game losing streak, anything like that. So, Jan's obviously really frustrated with the free throw shooting, was frustrated with some of the defensive lapses that led to a couple Nebraska threes there when they had the 11-point lead. But she knows how close they were, and she knows that a couple more free throws go in there, we're writing about and talking about a win tonight. So I think she's trying to strike a balance of trying to correct the things that have went wrong, and obviously making a point that the free throw shooting has to be better. But they played a lot of close games recently. This 4-game losing streak out, I mean, Maryland wasn't close for a while, but this 4-game losing streak, all those games could have flipped pretty easily. So she's trying to stay positive that she feels like they're pretty close. But she also mentioned that after a game she's not going to come in yelling at the team. That's something that she likes to reserve for after she's watched film. She feels like you don't want to come in and say something that might you might regret after you watch film and maybe have a different stance on. So she tries to keep it pretty balanced after the game, whether it's a win or a loss, and wait to see what the film says. But yeah, still pretty positive. She feels like they're improving in some areas, and I would agree. I think they are improving in some areas. It just I would say the frustrating thing for them is that turnovers have been better the last 2 games, and they still haven't won against Indiana. It's because they missed some open looks, and tonight it was because they missed free throws. So I think that's the most frustrating part for them, is that they're seeing themselves growing in maybe some areas, but it just hasn't translated to wins.
Cash, let me throw this to you, because it sounds to me, and I'm not faulting her for it, but Jan is taking the glass half full approach. The glass half empty approach on the 4-game losing streak is they've lost all these games different ways, in a sense. They turn the ball over less tonight. They're much better offensively, but they have these long lapses. They can't make free throws. Usually they're really good at the line. Jan continues to say they're really close, and in a sense they are, but they've also lost all of these games. So how's the balance? I know you didn't coach nearly as long as Coach Jay has, but what is the balance from, as your experience as a player and a coach, between when these situations arise, not panicking, but also not like, well, we're going to get there, folks, and then nothing really transpires?
Number one, I wouldn't expect anything less for her or any coach, honestly, to say anything besides exactly what she said. I think there is some truth to it. Like I said before, I thought that the game was played overall well, right? Like there's a lot of things that they could clean up, of course, which no game is perfect. And like we said before, if they make some more free throws and shoot bare minimum 75%, there's no game, right? But turnovers, we clean that up. I told you I gave her a B+ in her substitutions and who she decided to play, etc. It's just unfortunate because when you play a game like that, it kind of sucks more because it really comes down to like free throws. And that's what is the most frustrating part of it, because you can't teach free throws. It's a mental game. The same reason why she's out there right now shooting free throws. It's not something you can go back and say, oh, you know what? We should have done. No, that's not that. Yes, there are going to be some things that you're going to dissect in every game you play. But this one sucks because it really did come down to free throws and a couple missed shots.
And you mentioned, Kyle, about not fouling. They had 2 fouls to give at the end of regulation. Not taking those 2 fouls and making it more difficult on Nebraska to tie this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to discuss that. I have my own take on, which I'll get to in a second. Unfortunately, Jan is a little bit different from Fran McCaffrey. We don't get the wealth of questions because Jan gives pretty lengthy answers. So we don't get to run through as many questions as a normal press conference for maybe some other coaches. But I would agree that they could have fouled prior to the jump ball, which came 6.5 seconds, I believe. I think there's an argument to be made that they could have fouled before then. But as soon as the jump ball happens, in my opinion, with 6.5 seconds left, you gauge what happens on the inbounds. If they inbound it back towards half court, I think you foul. But to me, Britt Prince got that inbounds too close to the 3-point line, and with 6 seconds by the time she catches the ball, a shot can go up at any point. Whether they're trying to draw up a shot to get Britt Prince was fantastic tonight from 3-point line. I mean, made 5 of them in the first half. You don't know what they're drawing up. That could be her to look to get a 3 to win the game. That could be her looking to drive to the free throw line to get a jump shot. That could be her going to the hoop like she did. So I don't think they should have fouled there, because if it is a play to get her a 3 and she tries to pull up and you're trying to foul her, you might lose the game there. So I agree that they could have fouled before the jump ball. That's a discussion that to me doesn't really matter anymore, because that didn't. There was. I
will say though that I'm not saying you're wrong, but this isn't the NBA. I mean, you have to be clearly in your shooting motion, right, Kachine? Like, this is not the NBA where a guy can flail and get. That very rarely happens. But I agree with you, Kyle. It's more difficult to do under 7 seconds. But I mean, I just and it was mentioned on the broadcast as well that there was a lot of dribbling happening where there was an opportunity, and so that's why I thought, well, then that must not have been in the game plan there. Or Aaliyah, I think it was Aaliyah who was defending the ball. I think I'd be wrong on that, or she just missed the mark.
Maybe the only thing I can think of is I thought Aaliyah Guyton played solid defense. I mean, Britt Prince really fell off. She finished with 22. Aaliyah Guyton played good defense, so I don't know. Maybe that's a situation where Jan's just rolling with Aaliyah's played good second half defense. Britt hasn't been hitting the shots. You're probably not going to Markowski there in that situation. You're just going to let Britt try to do her thing to try to get the shot. And maybe Jan liked the matchup with the way Aaliyah had been playing defense. Like I said, I think you could have fouled before the jump ball. I think that's certainly something that could be questioned. But I mean, to me, after the jump ball has happened, there's no you don't really want to go back and discuss it, because fouls at that point don't matter. But I think with 6.5 seconds, you not knowing what Nebraska is going to draw up in that situation, you don't want to get caught in a spot where you're trying to foul and Britt's trying to run the play to get a 3 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, in a loss like this, when it comes down to plays like that, people are going to analyze every bit of it. So, it could have gone both ways. My side of it would have been that you don't foul there.
So let me ask you about I'm guessing maybe this was brought up because there was a change in the starting lineup. I think a lot of us kind of anticipated there might be. I kind of suspected it would be Kylie Feuerbach that might be the odd person out, but at the same time, they clearly have had an issue with Hannah at the 4. So they bring O'Grady off the bench. Hannah starts at the 5. You got Sid at the 4. Kylie stays in. Taylor plays. I thought McCabe struggled tonight. I mean, obviously the numbers. She's a really good 3-point shooter. The numbers speak for themselves. But Kachine said earlier today that she thought maybe that Taylor McCabe is just a better player off the bench. Do you get a feel for how willing Jan is going to be moving forward here as we hit the latter part of January into February to continue experimenting with lineups? Because I think at some point you got to stop doing that. But I don't know that you can be satisfied with what you're getting across the board, or maybe you just live with that inconsistency because it's a young team.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if they go with anyone other than Hannah in the starting lineup at the 5. Just from what Jan said tonight, she mentioned that she said she has a problem at center right now. She has 3 centers. Was the comment that she made. So that leads me to believe that they've maybe they were trying to hold off on seeing if they could get Hannah to a point where maybe she could get a little bit better at the 4. And this is kind of the point where, maybe it's something that they've known. We can put Hannah at the 5 at any point and she's going to produce, but can we get her to a point where maybe she can help us at the 4 just because of what Addie O'Grady's been doing, what Ava Hayden can do off the bench. But I mean, 16 and 16 tonight. I think just based on our comments tonight of saying that is pretty telling that they're going to go with Hannah at the 5, and they're going to have to find a way to get Ava into the game. She didn't play tonight. I thought Addie O'Grady did give solid minutes in the third quarter. Thought she had a really good third quarter. So I think they're going to go with Hannah at the 5. I was surprised to see Kylie stay in the lineup. But I thought she had a good game as well for the most part. I mean, she had a couple turnovers, 3 turnovers, but 13 points, hit a couple of threes. She was certainly not the issue tonight. Drew a giant charge call late in the game. Had a couple of steals, I think.
Very risky play on Kylie's part.
Yeah,
but I'll take it.
So I don't think she was the one that was anything. I thought she played well tonight. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what they're going to go with at Oregon. Like I said, I think Hannah's going to be at the 5. I think Sid will be at the 4. I don't know how much you can change up at guard unless you put Aaliyah Guyton in the starting lineup, which brings up the point that I was hoping to see if we would get to, and I was going to bring it up otherwise. I asked the question tonight, is there who on the roster at this point is the person that's going to step up and say, this has got to be better? Obviously, like I said, Jan's going to take, for the most part, going to take the side of we're getting there, we're getting close. But you really need someone like a Kate Martin last year who's going to step up and say, we've got to be better. Jan said it's Aaliyah Guyton. Aaliyah Guyton's been the one that has been pretty balanced in her thing. She does a very good job of moving on from things. If there's a mistake, she's on to the next play, things like that. She said she's really liked what she's seen out of her in that. She also mentioned that Sida Fulcher has tried to be that leader in some areas too, but Aaliyah Guyton was the one that was brought up as the one that's done a very good job in that role. I don't know how much of like a leader in the locker room or things like that. It was just, I asked the question of who's going to step up in this moment to be the one to try to bring on change. And she said Aaliyah Guyton before I even finished the question. So she must be impressing in some way there. And you saw it with Aaliyah getting some late minutes today and finished with 26 minutes. So, and you can see it in her play too. I mean, she finishes with 14 points tonight, 3 of 5 from 3. So I think she's growing by the second, and this is kind of what we were talking about early in the year. She just needed to get the first few games under her belt and get to the point where the minute restriction was off, and she's at that point now. And we're seeing her every single game. We're seeing another play or two and a little bit more consistency. She played 26 minutes and 1 turnover, which is very different from a couple games ago against Illinois when she had 4 in 16 minutes. So maybe she's the one. I think Taylor Stremel is another. If you're looking at freshmen, someone that can step up and potentially be a leader. But I think as much as they may want to say, hey, we're getting close in some areas, which they are, like you guys have said and I said, make a couple more free throws, and we're talking about how big of a win this was to stop the losing streak against a rival. So they're getting close, but someone needs to step up and say, hey, we can't keep getting close because you're at a point now where I think the next 3 games are all must wins. I thought tonight was a must win. Now we're at the point where we're talking about stretches of games are all must wins. And I think the next 3 games are must win games.
At Oregon's not going to I mean, there's not going to be much as far as easy games. They already played Purdue at home. They already got Penn State. Those are 2 of the worst teams in this conference and won both those games. Thankfully, man, you imagine they lost some of those, but they didn't. I will say this: my personal opinion is I don't think Jan ought to. Not that I should be giving her coaching advice, but I don't think Jan ought to be closing the door on. Not that she is, but closing the door on a lineup change yet, because I do think the one lineup that I would like to see would be a lineup of Lucy and Aaliyah side by side, along with maybe McCabe, Sida Falter, and Hannah. The reason I say that is I wonder if Kylie would actually play better off the bench as well. And maybe Taylor and Kylie both need to come off the bench. Maybe you start Stremlo at the 3, which is something you endorsed last time on the show, Kachine. Stremlo.
That was only if you playing McCabe, though.
Oh well, what's that make it?
Because you're shooters.
Aaliyah's a shooter.
Yes.
You don't have shooters.
I understand. The one thing I will say, the one thing that's stopping me from fully endorsing Taylor Stremlo is because she is not confident on the offensive end at all. It's almost like she's lost, or she doesn't exactly know when she should drive or not drive. She's thinking entirely too much, which makes her a liability on the offensive end. So, because I'm trying to dissect why she's not playing as much as I feel like she should, because she hustles. She does all the little things. But on the offensive end, whenever she's in the game, our offense is like a juggernaut at times because she's like standing there holding the ball, like do something. But I think that she's just not comfortable yet, and that is the one reason I don't think I'm.
And I think she was a decent shooter in high school. I watched her a few times in AAU basketball. Watched her one time at Verona. She's a decent shooter, but not a good enough shooter to come in and kind of have like Aaliyah Guyton type, just do whatever you want type thing because we know you can do it. So I don't know if that's maybe Taylor thinking, when she has a chance at an open three, she is not probably at the point in her career yet where she can just light it up from three. And maybe in that situation, she knows I'm open, but I'm probably shouldn't be taking, a whole bunch of shots just because she's still trying to work there with her offense. But the thing is with her and the reason why like you were saying, it's kind of you look at, maybe she should be playing more, but then you worry about the offense. She just brings so much to the table and everything but shooting the ball. She does well.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part is, there's no, I tweeted it tonight. No one else is taking the charge in that moment like Kylie Fierbach, and no one else is grabbing 5 jump balls in the game like Taylor Stremlo is. So they're important in their own ways. And the thing that's tough though is we're talking about these lineup situations, and we just threw out how many different starting lineups there. It's just a tough position to be in because
there's only 4 people I would start. I know for a fact I would start Hannah, Sydney, Lucy, and Aaliyah Guyton. That 5th one, I can't even help you there.
And I think
Aaliyah's not starting. When you say
no, I'm saying that's who I would start.
Those
are the 4 where I feel comfortable starting. I don't. The 5th one.
And I think that's the toughest part. At this point, different. You're talking about a freshman class that Taylor Stremel has clearly gotten better as the season has gone on. Aaliyah Guyton has gotten way better as the season's gone on. Obviously, she started the year with an injury. We've seen progress out of Ava Hayden. But the thing is, we've seen inconsistency from other players at times. It's really hard at this point to have players by every game. I mean, Aaliyah Guyton looked better this game than any other game, maybe all season, defense, offense in general. And it's really hard to build a lineup, really hard to make substitutions in a game when you have inconsistency from some players and some other players from one game to another are that much better. So it's a tough position to be. I feel like I'm making excuses for Jam, which I'm not. It's just a tough situation to be in when you have inconsistency, players getting better by every game. Kylie Fierbach played well enough to earn the 25 minutes she played tonight. But the next game you might be talking about, she probably should have played 3 minutes tonight. And that's really hard.
Anything in weeks before.
And that's the thing. But that's the thing is then you see this and, she's always given a spark on the defensive end. And I've always thought, maybe a roll off the bench and, when they want more of a defensive lineup. But when you have a night like this, and she earns those minutes, it's tough. What does she do going into the next game? You don't know if, hey, is Kylie maybe going to hit a couple threes? Because she's done it. She's hit 4 threes, or was it 4 against Michigan State? So, it's just tough. But they've got to get something figured out because like you said, the schedule doesn't really get any easier. The thing I will say is that, Oregon, Washington, they've got Northwestern yet, Rutgers, Minnesota, Nebraska again. Those are all winnable games. Now they found ways to lose some of these last couple of games. But, you look at it tonight, and as we've talked about, there's so many categories tonight that if you put all the stats up except the free throws tonight, you'd say Iowa won.
Yeah.
If you want to take the optimistic side, there's plenty of games left for them to win.
It's the tough part about this, Kyle, and you know this, and maybe it's not as hard in the women's game because you're not going into as raucous of atmospheres, but to lose these 2 games at home back to back, just that hurts. Like they're going to have to steal games now. I don't know what their record needs to be. Probably 500 gets it done, I'm guessing, but they don't have a real great non-conference resume.
I would say, and here's the thing. So I would think 8-10 would probably do it. 18-11. So the latest ESPN bracket prediction that came out, what was that? It was after the loss to Indiana. Even Iowa was a 10 seed, and the last 4 buys. I went through and I looked at all 16 teams that were on the bubble in that ESPN projection. Iowa has 7 wins against the net top 80. None of those other 15 teams had more than 4, and that was Illinois. So Iowa doesn't have a quad 1 win, but if you start to look a little bit further, Iowa's resume at this point is still far better than all those other bubble teams. Now, obviously, a loss against Knight doesn't. You can't keep racking up the losses, but I do think 8-10, because a couple of those wins to get to 8-10 would still be quad 2, or maybe there's still a couple quad 1 opportunities. At Nebraska will probably be quad 1. So I think if they got to 8-10, the resume would probably be good enough to beat out, some of the other teams that are on the bubble. But they've got to get to 8-10. I mean, that's still going 6-5 the rest of the way. And there's
I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be pretty nervous at 8-10.
6
Yeah, I mean, you'd also have the Big Ten tournament, so you don't know who you would get there. You win one there, 19-12 makes you feel a lot better. But yeah, so I think the next 3 are very, very important. You obviously can't lose to Northwestern or Rutgers, but Oregon and Washington are both winnable. Going to be tough though, first time going out west. But yeah, Oregon has their holes, Washington has their holes. We'll just have to see what happens.
Kyle, last question for me, and the only reason I'm asking this is because it got brought up. Don't shoot the messenger. You may say, dumb question, shouldn't even need to bring it up, but it was brought up, and people, when they're frustrated with a team, just ask Iowa football fans at the quarterback position. They always think that the guy on the bench is better, and sometimes he is, maybe at times, but usually he or she is not. People wonder why we've not seen any time from Callie Levine. Is she, I know you can only play a certain number of players, but what's the sense you've gotten from kind of being close to the program as to, is she just behind everybody and more of a project? What's the status? I know at one point she was dealing with an injury, I think.
Yeah, I haven't watched. I've watched Callie Levine a bit in high school. Obviously, a lower rated recruit than some of the other ones. I would have to defer to Jeff Linder on this one. He writes for Cedar Rapids Gazette. He has watched her a little bit more, and he thought maybe she would be more of like a Sita Folter path where, maybe later in her career she gets into a role. But I don't think he ever felt like she was going to be someone that was going to come in and contribute the first year. So that again, I've only watched her play a handful of times. Jeff covered her many times at Solon, obviously. And that was just his drawing. Is he thought she was going to be more of a down the road type player. But I would assume, if she was lighting it up in practice, I would assume that Jan would have given her the shot by now. But yeah, I don't know as much on her as maybe some others, but that would be my guess. Is she's just not quite up to par with some of the others.
Kyle Huseman, HawkeyeReport.com. You can follow him on social media on X at HusemanKyle, and all his stuff over at HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 family. Kyle, thank you, and I'm assuming you're not going to Eugene.
Oh boy, I would be interested in going to Eugene.
Great place.
I'm not. I would like to go to Seattle too, but I'm not.
Kyle, I'm sure you Tom knows this, and your whole crew knows this, but we flew out years ago. I don't know that we flew Allegiant, but we flew from Cedar Rapids to Eugene fairly reasonably, and it's a great airport to fly into. Obviously, Cedar Rapids is a great airport to fly out of. So I may have to do that at some point. I won't be doing that for this game, but that's a pretty simple. I don't know if we had a layover or not, but those are two very easy to deal with airports, and Eugene's beautiful.
I'm gonna have to get a baseball now. They've got a really good baseball team. Maybe I'll have to get out there when Iowa plays at Oregon. I'm always better. I've always thought that going somewhere for a 3-game series is better than just for a bass. I mean, even going to Champaign felt like, man, I wasn't here that long for. But yeah, I will not be in Eugene or Seattle, so I'll be able to hop on here after the games.
Kyle Huseman, HawkeyeReport.com. Kyle, thank you, and we'll talk to you after the Oregon game.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Good stuff. All right, folks, if you're interested in calling in, asking Kachine a question, or making an observation, whatever the case may be, you can give us a call, 515-635-1601, or use the StreamYard link in the description of this video. Let's go back to our call line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hi, this is Bill.
Hey, Bill.
So that was a hard game to watch.
It was.
I'm going back and watching the Illinois game after you told me I wouldn't like it, but it was posted on YouTube just to get posted in the games on YouTube. I think outside, obviously, the free throws were unacceptable again. It was not a one-off. I think the takeaway is Guyton needs to start. I mean, that's her show of vibrato, whatever you want to say, is the first thing that I've seen out of this team. listening to some of your comments earlier, I think expecting Lucy to be the leader kind of says that Iowa lost their culture. She's new to the program, and you're expecting her to be the leader and guide everying.
Well, I certainly didn't expect that. I did not expect that, Bill. I expected Hannah to either step up or step up. I thought those two players, Sydney and Hannah, I didn't worry about leadership at all, Bill. Maybe that was stupid of me not to worry about that because they were losing a lot of leadership, but I just thought Hannah and Sid would do that. I wonder how much of this has been influenced by the fact that, I mean, you can talk about personalities, but I don't think this falls on Lucy at all. But I wonder with Sydney and Hannah, both dealing with injuries during the off season, and Hannah's game has not developed like I wanted it to. Sydney's game has not been offensively what I thought it could be. I don't know if you can pinpoint one thing, but I did not expect Lucy to come in here and be the leader of this team. I expected her to be the leading scorer, but I think those are two very different things.
Yeah, definitely. No, I see this team as the team that has lost its confidence, honestly. So when it gets tough and in tight games, I don't know. And I think that goes to coaching. I think there's also a lot of, even when you watch Sydney, I was proud of her for actually hitting a 3 in the fourth, because so many of these players, they miss a shot or two and it's like they won't shoot again. They're afraid. And Caitlin was the one out there with Gabby, or as much as we got on her when she was missing shots, keep shooting. She was giving confidence to her teammates, and I'm sure there's players doing that, but I don't know. It's just this team is certainly in a slump, and they're going to have to figure out their own confidence. I mean, watching that fourth quarter too, going back to coaching, I mean, obviously they shouldn't have blown that 11-point lead and free throws and everything like that. But if Lucy didn't hit that lucky 3 at the end of the buzzer, it wouldn't have even gone to overtime. Watching Jan try to organize the offense and the shot clock running down, they lost on offense so many times.
But that's the thing.
It's tough to watch.
I don't know. That's a tough balance too, Kachine, right? When you miss a bunch of free throws, because Kyle was out there in Carver and he's saying, well, Lucy's out there shooting free throws right now, but it's still up here. So I understand nobody's going out there to work on mechanics at the line, but when you go out there to the free throw line in the gym all alone, you're trying to develop confidence that somehow you've lost. And it's so easy to lose confidence. And some players, it's easier than others to gain that confidence back. She has been a really good free throw shooter all year. But I think what I'm hearing you say about leadership, Kachine, is they need somebody, even in those situations. You said, well, I saw in Lucy's face, she's going to miss those next 2 free throws, and she did. They need someone who, in those situations, I don't say it's some magic formula, but, someone to come up there and say, hey, make this one. We're not laughing this off. We're not shrugging it off. We're not nervously clapping each other. And, there's an instinctual thing that people like Kate Martin and Caitlin Clark had. And I think it was probably easy for Gabby Marshall to kind of just follow suit. She didn't have to be front and center at the leadership role, but she did a good job as well. Am I describing that? I don't know how to really.
Well, the reason why she's out there right now is really just to feel the ball go to the net. That's really it. That's the only thing that happens. When she's in the next game is going to be the mental piece that you're talking about. I don't think that it's a tough game for any senior. I don't care who you are of any sort to go 1 of 6 from the free throw line and know that was probably the leading cause of a lot of situations or reasons why you lost. So not surprised by her response in regards to that. But for me, it's what happens in the next game or the game after that. I don't think that someone telling her in that moment to not smile or to what was going to help her. I don't. Because it's not something that's been done all season. So trying to flip the script in the game is not going to work either. It's just going to make her stress out even more. So she's got to get herself back one way or the other because she's still not quite right. Regardless of the free throws, she's not what she was at the beginning of the season. She seems a little off. I don't know what the reason is.
She has plummeted.
Yes, and I don't know what that is, but she's got to get herself back anyways. You can start to see a little life in Sid a little bit, maybe because she's more comfortable at the 4. I have no idea, but nonetheless, you're seeing a little bit. There's still a lot that I'm just like, Sid, what are you doing? But for the most part, she's going in the right direction now. She's not going downward, so I'll take that. But yeah, I don't know. Lucy's she's in a weird spot, especially being your senior year and you're towards the end, and that could also be it, because sometimes seniors at the end of their career tend to think the opposite, like, oh my God, it's almost done. So you start freaking out instead of being like, okay, I'm gonna give all I got because I every game is my last scenario. So she could be going through that too as a senior. That happens. And
I, Clutch Hoopers here in the chat. Jan has talked about leadership. She's talked about this
many times.
So it's not just us making this up, and I don't think it's a knock on anybody specifically. Certainly not Lucy, because I don't think, as Bill, you said earlier, I don't think that's an expectation that people should have had for someone transferring in to a whole different group. I place that on the upperclassmen, and maybe it's just more of circumstantial with losing everybody they lost in a generational leader and talent in Caitlin Clark.
Oh, no, and I definitely understand. Jan stepping away, or sorry, but the change in coaching happening at this time, and I was a big supporter of Jan taking over and everything like that. But I can't help being critical. Why did they take Guyton out with 3 minutes left in the game? What was going on that made them think he needed to come out of the game? You've already brought up about taking Lucy out.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. At 6 minutes,
it makes sense to me. First quarter, they start going on a big run and they're doing great, and immediately she goes and substitutes like 2 or 3 players. It's like I don't understand.
Bill, let's address that question. Kachine, why did Aaliyah Guyton get pulled?
So the first thing, I think it was like it was like 6:58 left. I remember looking at the court and I was like, you got to get Aaliyah. I'm sorry.
I can't hear 2 people at the same time.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Bill.
Sorry. No, I was just thinking it was like 3 minutes left.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. So around 6:58, I remember looking at the court and I said to myself, you got to get Aaliyah out. At that minute, right at that moment, because I knew she wasn't going to last 7 minutes.
Got it.
So, like, in my mind, I'm like, you got to get her out so that she could get a break and then put her back in. But the way the game was going, and maybe the coaches didn't really realize how long she had been in there at the time, I don't know. So then towards that 3 minute mark, she was starting to slow down. You could start to see that she was starting to get a little tired, which is, she should, okay? So I was like, at that point, I knew why they took her out, but I was like, oh, that's not a good time, right? But I also knew why they did it.
Yeah.
Because she had been in for the whole damn quarter at that point. We just needed to take her out sooner so that we could put her back in. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
So you're right on. We shouldn't have took her out at 3 minutes. We should have took her out earlier so that we could get her back in the game so that she could do that. You could line that up with her with like a media timeout or something of the sort. If you could do that, it works out great. If not, you take her out for a minute or 2 and then you put her right back in. So now she's playing out the rest of that quarter. It just didn't, it didn't work that way.
Bill, appreciate you calling in, sir. Any final thoughts on the game or anything for Kachine?
No, it's just obviously been a little frustrating. I've been a big supporter. I guess the last thing that I would say is, it's some of what made me fall in love with watching Iowa was certainly their up-play style and everything like that, which has gone away. And it's good to see us kind of picking that back up and running a little bit more. But it seems kind of obvious to me watching it how many times there were players open and not like the long court passes that Caitlin would make. Like even coming over half court, there would be open players, and we just never make the pass anymore. And that to me seems to indicate that's not a focus in practice. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it just doesn't seem like bringing up the court we're ever looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Bill,
just a comment.
No, absolutely. Appreciate you calling in, sir. Enjoy your observations, and we'll hopefully talk to you better times ahead following a win at Oregon.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hopefully talk to you. All right. We have a couple people here still waiting on hold. Lemansky, first, thank you for the super chat. Lemansky says, thank goodness from the Hawkeye of the Storm therapy. So thank you for that super chat, Lemansky. And Ryan says, rebound. Says, Kachine, hey, salute. You sound like you now.
Yeah, as close as I've been in a while.
Absolutely. Best part of this. And let's see, was there another super chat? Lonnie with the super chat. Thank you, Lonnie. Only get where we want by playing the freshmen. Okay, well, I know it's easy for me and, all of us to sit on the sidelines and say, this player needs to start, this player needs to start, this player needs to start. I think Aaliyah Guyton is deserving of a spot. I get Kylie Feuerbach played well tonight. Let's see how Kylie plays in the next game out. I still think Aaliyah has earned that, and I think they're better with Aaliyah and Lucy on the court at the same time. I also think it helps them play faster when both of those players are on the court at the same time. I think Aaliyah does part of what she brings to the floor, even though she's not been back from this serious knee injury all that long. I think she helps them push the tempo and attack the rim. We've talked about her ability to break a defender down. That's something that Iowa misses basically everywhere else on the court. When she's not out there, Kachine talked about Taylor Strimlow's lack of confidence. I think she's got the handles to potentially be someone who can penetrate in time, but she's just not confident enough on that end right now, really with anything. She's turned the ball over a lot too, right? She's a good passer, but I think she's gotten in her own head a little bit, and I'm sure the coaches are, you can't just ignore the turnovers. So, yeah, this is the battle with young players, but I think Aaliyah Guyton deserves to get a shot at the starting role. I'd like to see Lucy, Aaliyah, Falter, Stolke, and in that fifth spot, yeah, I guess you and I agree, right? That's what you said, right? 4, and I don't know who 5 is.
I don't know.
Because I think you could be right about McCabe.
I mean, you can give Kylie it for now. Let's give it to her for now.
So who am I taking out?
Taylor McCabe and Taylor Strimlow is out.
Yeah, but Strimlow didn't start.
You have 5?
Who did I take out today?
And Addison O'Grady.
Well, no, it was the starter. Who are the starters today?
You took out Taylor McCabe, and you put in Aaliyah Guyton.
No, I didn't, because I said I don't know who the 5th player is.
Oh, I said Kylie.
Oh, Kylie. Yeah. Yeah, Kylie and Taylor started today. So I just think at some point you got to settle. I just don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. They definitely played better today, and it's just, to me, it's concerning when a team loses a different way every time. And for a while, it seemed to be turnovers were the consistent theme, and now it's like tonight they lost a totally different way. So anyways, let's go back to our phone line. We've got Doug here. Doug, welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Got a haircut, so feel a little bit better.
Good, looking fresh.
Yeah, Dougie fresh. All right. Okay. I'm an outsider insider here a little bit. I'm probably the only person in Iowa fandom that's watched more women's games this year than the last 2 years. Probably the only person. People ask me, you asked me last year, why didn't you jump on the bandwagon? I cheer for all Iowa sports teams. As I'm looking into this, you lost the greatest women's basketball player of all time. And, none of these girls, maybe other than Hannah Solke, have real experience. I know Lucy does, but again, I don't want to say anything negative about the girls, but
I don't want to get into a debate with you, because I've debated this with other people. When you say no one has real experience, what does that mean?
real experience is playing 20-plus minutes a game in Big Ten competition for a year.
I think
I don't know what their minutes are. I could be 100% wrong because, again, I'm not a women's basketball fan.
I mean, Addison O'Grady played a lot last year. Sydney Falter played a lot last year. Kylie Feuerbach.
I think when people say that, it's because they weren't depended on.
Yes.
I think there's a fine line between.
Hannah Stokey was depended on last year. Nobody else was.
As Cash knows, your role changes. It's a big difference. There's a lot of people. I'm trying to think. A lot of people that their roles have changed and they never were able to take that next jump. It happens. As far as also the other thing I was bringing up in the chat, the Big Ten is just loaded, and they'll send 13 teams. There's 13 already predicted to go to the NCAA tournament. I mean, if I don't know if you want to jump off the bandwagon, that was kind of like, why are people like saying, well, they won't make the NCAA tournament? Well, you don't have to watch them then. If that's your goal.
When you say if the Big Ten is going to get 13 teams, then you could be right. I think the fear is because it's loaded, they may not finish in the top 13 of the conference. That's the fear. Yeah. I was say going out to Washington, could they go out there and lose 2 straight?
Yeah.
Yes. They could come home. They could come home on a 6-game losing streak. Do I think they will? Yeah. No, because I don't think going on the road in the women's game is quite the same as going on the road in the men's game. Kachine, I know you never played men's college basketball, but is that a fair assessment that the environments are? It's totally different.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Oregon's going to have a great one. They usually have a great crowd. I'm looking at Iowa's remaining schedule right now because
both those teams are on the bubble according to the bracketology I looked at. Both Washington and Oregon are on the bubble, so they're fighting for the same things. Just what you're talking about, cannibalism.
Holding serve at home is so important.
And like your expert said, they go 6-5, and that to a lot of people that are used to going to the national championship game the last 2 years probably isn't good enough. But I know a lot of Iowa women's teams back in the past. Making the tournament was a big deal.
The expectation to me, the goal heading into this year, and it remains, is making the tournament for me.
Yeah, it would be for me too.
I would love to say, hey, this is a Sweet 16 team. Yeah. I don't know that they're a tournament team right now. And Kachine, it's a great time. Chris brings up the tournament. Doug brings up the tournament. Somebody else asked earlier, do you think that Bobby says, Kachine, based on what you've seen to date, does this team make March Madness? You just looked at the schedule as well, so I'll put you on the spot. Is this a team that makes it to the NCAA tournament?
It's not looking bright. That's what I would say. Because based off Illinois' loss is so much worse. Because I do believe that Nebraska is a topper, if you split the conference in half, right? I think that they're still on that side, right? Illinois is on this side. Northwestern is on this side. Purdue's on this side. Like all of these teams are on this side. So the teams that are on this side, you cannot lose to because now you're putting yourself in a really bad situation. So losing to Illinois, that wasn't it. And then on top of that, now you have Western coming. Why are we at Northwestern or we have Northwestern at home? Doesn't matter.
Northwestern at home.
Okay, you're going to Washington. Okay, so those 2 teams are on this side right now. So at the end of the day, I feel like with what we have coming up, we still got to go back to Nebraska. We got UCLA, USC. We at Minnesota. Like it's not looking bright. That's all I'm gonna say. Not impossible by all means. We could get our stuff together and we could start clicking. I've seen that before.
If they go out and win at Oregon and Washington, we're back, baby. Bring on UConn.
Now we're good. I would also be okay with 2 of 1 before we go into February. I think that's right. Yeah. If let's say we lose to Oregon, but we beat Northwestern and we beat who's after that? Washington. We beat those 2 and we go 2-1. I'm still like I'm not like horrible. But you got to go 2 of 1. If you go
the
opposite or God forbid 0-3, it's over with.
can't lose both games up in the Northwest. That is, and you can't lose to Northwestern at home. And again, that's without me knowing anything about the teams, just looking at the standings. Again, I hope everyone still supports these young ladies because, they're trying their best. They want to win every game. And trust me, they're used to winning. And it got to hurt them more than anything to, try to live up to the teams of the last 2 years. I mean, it's got to be hard for Jan to try living up to her mentor. And I know there's a lot of criticisms with Jan. Trust me, I listened to Hawk Talk the other day, and she wants to win as much or more than any of you fans. I mean, and trust me, they're not going in there to have bad lineups, bad rotations. She believes in what she's doing, or else she wouldn't do it. Don't lose hope, and I hope that they maintain their attendance. I know I sound like a moron sometimes when I come on here, but I know the women deserve respect.
Call yourself a moron.
Oh, I was called that. What? Never mind. Anyway, Corey, I appreciate it. I said I'd be quick. Just trying to reiterate, don't lose hope. And these girls are doing their best. And I know a lot of you are used to national championship games. Well, we had Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's we might never. Well, we'll get back to the national championship game sooner or later. I promise all Iowa women's basketball fans. And I bet Jan
the men are going to get back there too very soon. Someday.
We're winning national titles in every sport. Kirk's will win one next year. And I'm actually halfway delusional and halfway that's optimism,
Mm-hmm.
Doug,
thank you guys.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
I agree with Doug said though. At the end of the day, you can't. Majority of the reason besides play and all that stuff that recruits come to Iowa is because of the fans being able to play in that kind of environment. So if you leave, we're just going to suck longer. So I need you to stick it out. I need you to stay there because that's a selling point for these coaches. You have to.
Some people in the chat upset about what Kyle said earlier that Jan Jensen was happy after the win. I think maybe take those words with a grain of salt. Grain of salt. So, all right, let's go. Let's see. We got a couple of comments that I wanted to hit in the chat before we get to our next caller. First of all, Amanda reminding everybody, hit the like button, folks. We had over 600 here at one time here a little bit ago, which is great. We got close to 500 now, just over 450. Folks, hit the like button if you're here. It's the little thumbs up. If you scroll down, you don't have to leave the page. Just hit the like. It does help us and helps the show to grow. So thank you in advance for that. How about the shout out today on the
that was funny.
So Diego brought it up. Patrick brought it up. Let's see who else brought it up.
I got quite a few tweets about it too.
So other people brought it up. Christy brought it up. But I thought this was interesting because Roger brought it up. I thought it was Aaliyah that they were making a comparison.
It was.
Brock said the same thing. So
which I'm shocked about. Not in a bad way.
I thought the comparison was made to Taylor Strimlow in the past.
Listen, I got to figure. If somebody knows for certain who they was talking about, I would love to know. I mean, maybe they were talking about Leah Guyton, but I'm trying to figure out in what way. Like,
wasn't the comment made that the somebody in the coaching staff compared this player to you? That's why.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out in what way. Because because I thought it was Sydney because of rebounding, but I was like,
no, I think if anything, Taylor Strimlow. I've said that earlier.
None of them. Let's be honest, but the closest person that would be rebounding to me is Hannah Stokey. So I was confused. Like, what?
But Taylor Strimlow is about your size, right? Your height. And she is a good rebounder. Not an elite rebounder, but she's a good rebounder for her size, no? And she's a gritty tough defensive player who's going to get better. I think she fits the Kachine Alexander mold, right? She fits the mold at least.
Yeah, I could actually go with that. Freshman year, I could go with that.
Okay.
I could roll with that. But they was talking about Sid. Now, if they're saying tough nose, like old Sid, tough nose, rebounding guard, I can roll with that. Because I don't think we've had a rebounding. And I said that last year, actually, that she was rebounding like me. So I could understand that. So, yeah, if they said Sid's the best rebounding guard, I could rock with that. I don't think I don't think there's been one since.
So somebody in the chat is confirming that it was Sydney, not Aaliyah.
Okay. Because I was like, Aaliyah, huh? But I was like, maybe they're talking about like leadership or something. I couldn't figure out where that was at.
I don't understand what the compare. Just because she rebounds well, she's not a undersized guard.
Who?
I don't get what the Sydney.
I mean, I wasn't an undersized guard either. But if you're rebounding 10 rebounds a game, that's not a normal thing for a guard to do. So in their mind, Coach J must have said
5'9".
So I was the second leading rebounder in the Big Ten Conference.
I know. 5'9".
Right. So, I mean, how tall is Sid? She got to be like 5'9".
I think she's more like 5'11" or 6 foot, isn't she?
I don't know. Anyways, listen, I'll take it. The fact that my name is still being brought up. We're not going to see how many years later.
Sydney Falter is 5'11".
Oh, well, whatever. She's a guard. We'll roll with it.
I'm giving you a compliment. I'm saying 5'9", being as dominant a rebound as you were at 5'9".
I'm not even gonna hold you. I was not 5'9". I'm 5'8". But
well, I know that's my point. I know you're not 5'9" because those numbers are never accurate. But my point is, being as dominant of a rebounder at 5'8", 5'9",
yeah,
much more impressive in my opinion than being a good rebounder playing.
It's funny either way. Like I said, either way, it's like cool because it took me for surprise. I was like, wait a minute, what are they talking about? Because I just heard my name, but. Nonetheless, I give credit where credit is due, and Sid does come up with some big time rebounds. So,
shout out to Taylor McCabe. Really heads up, steal and layup today. I was impressed. She went straight to the basket and laid it in. Maybe I should be bragging on her for a layup. Weren't you saying the same thing when you saw her make that play? Like she didn't hesitate at all. She went straight to the rim and scored.
She didn't. Good for
her. Nick wants to know at this point in the season, how much can players actually manage? And if it is all mental, let me take this a step further, Kachine. If it is all mental, can you will a switch just be flipped? Can you go from, I mean, is this just a one-off? I mean, numbers-wise, they've been pretty good from the line. So how would you answer that question?
That's a two-part because I think that there are some people who their mechanics could need some work, and then there's other people who it's really just mental. There's nothing wrong with their mechanics. For example, Lucy Olsen, like she's been shooting 85% this whole season. Like, that she's just in one of those right now. So hers is just a mental thing. Hannah was on the uptick, and I think she's thinking too much now, and she's reverting back to her old mechanics instead of what she actually worked on. So hers is a little bit different, where she can probably go back up a little bit more if she just like takes time to go back to those mechanics. So I think it depends. Each individual person is different.
Iowa not quite as good. I don't know if this number is accurate. Like after today, let's see. What's Iowa's overall record? Let me make sure I get this right so I know. Okay, so they are 12-6. I don't think that counts. That wouldn't include the exhibition. I don't think. I'm looking at Iowa's website, so I would assume that they're not including the exhibition. No, ESPN will be right. Yeah, so 12-6, so 18 games. So this number on the Big Ten Conference website is correct. After today's performance, Iowa's shooting 71% from the line. So still much better than they were today. Maybe not quite as high as I thought they were, but 71% even after today is good for middle of the conference. They're top 10 in free throw shooting. So not great, but today did not help because they actually shot a lot of free throws. So it's not like
free throws. Jesus.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to our call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
This is Christy from Gilbert.
Christy.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing okay. Good to hear from you, Christy.
I know it brought up in the chat already, but big shout out to Kachine tonight. I'm Big Ten. And I think it's so funny because I feel like they must be listening to the show and listening to Kachine, because you see the things Kachine talks about happen on the floor, and then they're talking about you too. So I just wonder, Kachine, you think they're tuning in to listen?
I mean, at this point, maybe they got a little, what you call an account, like a burner account or something. Got a burner account. Who knows at this point? But please listen. Thank you. Go ahead.
I just wonder if some of the coaches are listening in the chat tonight, or
They could just call me if that was the case. I'll give it to you for free.
The other thing I want to talk about, like really positive, is Aaliyah's behind the back pass out of bounds for 2 points was the most exciting play of the game. It was awesome.
Boy, at that point in the game, Christy, we were an hour and a half into the show, and we're just now bringing this up because it felt like at that point in the game that Iowa was going to win this thing. I mean, it really did. And I think that's why it hasn't been brought up, because how deflating the rest of the game went. But that was a phenomenal effort play by Aaliyah Guyton.
I don't know how she got to it, first of all. Like, I thought there was no way she was going to get to that pass because it was a horrible pass. But she got to it and made something out of that, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was hooting and hollering. It was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I wanted to say is I think they're like right there. They're like right there. Like they can do it. They're like an inch away. And yeah, it's
literally
free throw.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a free throw. It's like, they make 3 or 4 more of those and we're not going to overtime.
Right.
Or
yeah,
that
like
layup.
at the outset, like this game, you look no further than free throws. I mean, you can't have that big of a discrepancy. And Iowa got to the line substantially more times than Nebraska did.
And they still had a chance to win it at the buzzer.
And they still had a 3 there from Sydney Falter.
I'm talking about in regulation.
They had the shot in regulation. And that was a layup. It was a layup for Aaliyah Guyton. I know she's going full force. She couldn't, for the people that said, well, why didn't she stop and she had no time to stop.
She barely got it off.
She barely got that off. I didn't like the play call in particular, but she did get it off.
I disagree. I love the play call.
You love the play call, but you risk not getting a shot off, Kachine.
I mean, I think what I will say this, I think the play call was great, but she kind of stumbled as she took off. And so I was like, because now you got to she has to catch herself a little bit. The play call was great because nobody thought it was coming. And then she had a wide open layup. I mean, when I say wide open, meaning like it was just a one-on-one scenario where it's not like, you're trying to shoot something over multiple people or something like that. I think that it was a great play call. And a lot of respect to Coach Jay, because that's a big-time play call to give it to your freshman.
I disagree, but go ahead, Christy. 2.8 seconds. That's a lot of space to cover.
She got a wide open layup that she literally should have made. Like, what else do you want?
But no. Here's why I say what I said. If you go back and watch that, because you can look at this both ways. If you go back and watch that, you'll probably see that the clock operator didn't start the clock right away, and so you can either anticipate that the clock operator is going to be a little slow, or you can say, well, if the clock operator is on time and we run this play, we're not going to get it off in time. So let's ensure we get a shot. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a risky play with 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, but if she would have made it, we'd all be calling her a hero right now.
Absolutely. So. She should have made it. Yeah, she should have made it. And maybe you are right, Kachine. You probably are. You usually are. I mean,
who else are you going to go to? Hannah on the block? Now she got to try to make a post move? Like, it just...
I mean, I think the only option there was
false action, which is what I liked.
What they did. And frankly, can I just say this? Are you surprised, especially there at the end, to see Tegan in there for...
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Tegan ain't made a jump shot since 2024.
Actually, you know what? That's probably true, actually.
Okay, so like, why would?
Because with 2.8 seconds, you need somebody who can get a shot off.
She has not made a shot since 2024. Now that's a bigger risk, if you ask me.
Well, I'd rather her be able to get a shot up at the rim than.
It's okay. At the who Tegan is gonna get a shot up where? From 3-point line?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's gonna get a shot off.
If she can't make it wide open, what makes you think she's gonna make it with pressure? That's a no.
All right.
You Tegan is
the only other thing I'll say is I did notice Hannah only had one time that I noticed where she went up and hit the back of the backboard or the bottom of the backboard.
She played well.
So looks like she's going up a little bit stronger.
Yeah. And she drew a tough assignment. Alexis Markowski's a load down there, and I don't take that out of context. She's a difficult player to deal with down low on both ends. She's a body. And she's skilled. Somebody earlier compared her to Audie Crooks. She is much more developed than Audie Crooks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think Hannah handled her well, and I think that's part they were able to draw more. They were able to draw fouls and foul her out. When she fouled out, I really thought, okay, this is the turning point. This is where they're going to be able to push down low more and really turn the game back around. But they just couldn't quite get it there.
So let me say, this is I'm gonna go on another little hot rant. It's gonna be a slight one though, nothing crazy, I promise. You know how we said about my experience? This is what I meant by experience. Do you know, if y'all remember the time where Aaliyah Guyton was pretty much at half court playing defense, and it was like a scramble at half court, and the ball went between the defensive legs, but Aaliyah Guyton was still on the ground?
Okay.
That offensive player for Nebraska was clearly going to get that ball. Why in the world would Kylie Feuerbach run from her player over there? Now we got 3 people on the ball, and now they just throw it over the top, throw it to a wide open person, 3. That's experience. She clearly has the ball. That's like fake hustle in my mind. Why are you running after it? She clearly is going back to get it. Now you put us in a liability back here because now we got 4-on-2 because of that. That's experience. That's experience we're talking about. Because what? That play through, I was like, what are we doing? And lo and behold, pass. Does anybody else remember this play? It's a big time 3 too.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like there was no way we were going to possess the ball in that situation. The girl was already running back. Kylie was her and Aaliyah arrived at the same time. That's how late we were. That's experience to me. That's what I mean when I say experience. When things like that happen, you should know better. That was one of the dumbest plays of the day in my mind. And we paid for it with a 3. See, it's just a slight rant.
Anything else, Christy?
Well, that's all I have, for you, Corey, and for the star Kachine, being big shout out all night long.
Absolutely.
Everybody's like, "Oh, I know her."
Good night, everyone.
Always a pleasure.
Corey. I bet everybody was like, "Oh, I know her." Yes, you guys do. We're family at this point. Go ahead.
All right. Lots to get to here, folks, and I don't know how long Kachine has. I know this has been a big, busy evening, and the calls just keep coming in. But we're going to try to probably shorten some of these calls so that we can get off the air.
There's more calls?
We got people blowing up this phone line. Every time I hang up, more people calling in. So, Kachine.
We love that.
As long as you're here, but all right.
COVID got me in quarantine. I ain't going nowhere.
Timothy, you're just wrong. You say Eugene as a whole. You're just wrong. So I'm guessing either Eugene had a bad experience. I love, first of all of Oregon's beautiful, in my opinion. And Eugene is gorgeous. You're 2 hours from the coast, which is gorgeous. You can go into the Willamette Pass just an hour the other direction. You've got the desert a couple hours. east.
It's rainy out there though.
It's not like Seattle. It's not as bad as Seattle.
Listen, Seattle is like a hate-love situation. Those hills is crazy, number one. And the weather. It's gorgeous though.
I don't
things is enough for me.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Dude Liberty says, I never hit the like button until Corey the caller gets his time. Well, we need
Dude Liberty gone somewhere.
we need Dude Liberty to hit the like button. So
this early? Okay.
What do you know? This early. This early, we're like an hour and a half in. Corey, I can't keep you on for,
Corey got 2 points. That's it.
2 points. They better make them last, Corey. And you can't just make it very long run-on sentences.
John C., one of your posters, is going psycho on Lucy Olson and just hating on her, like to the level of
we're gonna put John C. in a little timeout. John, clean up your crap.
Yeah, dude, relax.
Clean up your crap. And the only reason you've been allowed to continue in the chat for so long is because I'm one person and we're working with literally hundreds of comments. So I did see some of what you're talking about, Corey, and so thank you.
All right, he's on timeout. Go ahead.
So pairing Lucy and her missed free throws with Aaliyah and her missed layup for the victory. Okay, everybody played a part in this loss. It's a team game, and I think that to hate on any one individual player.
Who's hating on who?
Well, I see some stuff in the chat here, but I guess what I'm saying is for the people that want to pick on Kylie Feuerbach, she had some nice steals tonight that really impacted the end of that game and got us back.
She was a problem tonight. I don't think she was a problem tonight. I think criticism toward Kylie, and I think you can agree with this, Corey, is more macro. It's not.
Yes.
She actually played one of her best games of the season tonight. If you look at the stats, I mean, now she missed a couple open threes that they could have used there down the stretch, but no, I mean she hasn't scored in double figures since probably Virginia Tech in November.
Yeah, but I like her defensive energy. I just think she brings some energy there, and Aaliyah Guyton is probably the most fearless player on this team right now. That said, she's not the defensive force that I expected that she would be. As much as she's an athlete, I think that she's a far greater offensive force by far than she is defensively. She's solid, but I haven't seen her get steals or make any huge plays. Just that freshman tonight was getting a hip ahead of her, getting a shoulder ahead of her on some dribble penetration. So I think that we haven't seen the best of Aaliyah Guyton. I think her defensive game can have a greater impact than what it has currently. But
respond to that.
But go ahead,
Kachine. I don't agree. I think it's two-part. One, I think that she's one of our best defenders right now. And I'm not on Kylie level, but she's definitely one of them. Secondly, there's a reason why she was on that kid in the first place. She wasn't on her to start the game. Who was on her? Kylie Feuerbach. She was lighting Kylie Feuerbach up. Let's start with that. Number two, I do think that is one of the biggest areas that she will grow in general. Freshmen have a lot to understand in the defensive schemes of everything. But she has everything she needs to become even better. But I won't say that it's she's still better than majority of our team in regards to defensive pressures.
Right, but my point is she's a far greater offensive force right now than she is defensively.
Most freshmen
are. I expect that her defensive game will double in impact. She will become significantly better in defense. But these people that want to hate on O'Grady serves her purpose. She's got 70% shot making. Her percentage is fantastic. One thing I wanted to look at, though, is I glanced at the free throw shooting, which was horrific tonight. And I just glanced, and this is ESPN, but Hannah Stolke has improved 8% this year over last. 61, now she's 69. Feuerbach, it shows that she's dropped 14%. She was 79%. Now she's down to 65%. Lucy also stayed the same around 80, 82. Sita Falter dropped 12%, 83 to 7, 83% to 71% this year. Addie O'Grady's gotten 15% better. Taylor McCabe has dropped 3%. So we have seen 10% drop off on Sid and on Kylie dropping 14% is significant. But, they had a chance to win it if they'd have made their free throws. They had a chance to win it if they'd have made that layup. And they had a chance to play a lot better defense like they were to close that game out. And then at the end, they started letting them make threes again, leaving them wide open. So they had a chance to win it with their defense, which got them back into the game. So they had 3 opportunities to close that game out with defense, with the free throws, or with that layup, and they fell short. But it's a team loss, and I question. I don't want to hate on any one player, but offensively, the stagnation of that offense was significant. Once Taylor Stremlow is standing out on the point, I mean, nobody's moving, nothing's happened. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And so Taylor Stremlow has really got to work on, move the ball, pass the ball. And that said, lastly, my last complaint, and this is with Iowa men and with Iowa women. When your teammate has the ball and they're looking to pass the ball, move your butt and get open. Don't just stand around. And I'm sorry, but this team just stood around when that person needed someone to pass to, and they just stand there. I saw 4 people just standing there. Whether it was Taylor, it doesn't matter, but they need to move. Any coach that I've had, if you just stood there like that when your teammate needed to pass the ball, they would rip you and say, move. It was insane. But that said, I don't know where this team's headed. They may lose 10 in a row. They may win 3 out of the next 5. But I'm keeping the faith, and I'm with Doug. And you got to support your team. The fans can be a recruiting tool. The fans can be the bridge to a brighter future. The fans should not be reactive. Fans should be proactive. Fans should drive the positive energy, not react to negative things and become more negative. That's a weak fan base. A strong fan base is proactive and they drive the positive energy. So I'm with Doug. I stand with Doug. And Erica took a shot at Doug. Erica, I stand with Doug. I'm a homer, and I'm backing Doug. It's me and Doug versus Erica. So
can I ask you, have you thought about starting a podcast?
No.
Because I'm telling you right now, ask the wife for permission. But if you start a podcast and you could fill time. That's not even an insult. I'm complimenting you. You could fill time. So I want you to think about that.
But there's quantity and then there's quality.
Yes.
And you provide.
That's for certain.
Well, Corey, we appreciate you being here.
But for clarity's sake, it was clearly a reference earlier. I was going to tweet to Kachine earlier tonight. It was most definitely a reference to Sydney Falter overachieving on the rebounding side, on the offensive rebounds, and her overachieving and with respect to her height in the rebounding category. And then they made the reference to Kachine. So, and sadly, Kachine, I will take time. I'm going to try to get back and see if hopefully there's some stuff on YouTube.
Oh,
'Cause
there is.
I need to see you in action.
You'll
I
enjoy it.
was at a different university during your time, I think. So
okay.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
Erica's calling you out on your 2 points, Corey. I got to let you go. But keep the spirit, and don't be too
We'll see you next time.
combative with Erica.
go Hawkeye. Oh, I
We
love
love Erica.
Hey, wait. Real quick.
Yeah, real quick. What?
Lemansky,
Real quick, what?
I'm calling off the missing persons report on Lemansky.
Yeah, he's back. Lemansky's here.
And he's
he's here. He had the super
and
chat
he's bringing more energy than ever. I love it.
on the phone line.
Corey,
Go Hawkeyes.
Sure, go Hawks. Absolutely. Appreciate Corey being here.
And I graduated in 2011.
Who asked that?
Anne from Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Annie from Brooklyn.
Okay. Very good. All right, let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, you two extreme talented podcasting hosts.
Lomansky, it's good to hear your voice, sir.
Talked him up.
You're way too big of a fan of the Mark Rogers Voice of College Football show now. You don't have enough time from the Hawkeye of the Storm. So we're glad you're here.
I bet you I lead in super chats. You're calling me out. You're debating Cash. Used to be animated.
I'm not calling
Cash
you out.
has got the swag, and I got the floor. If you couldn't have Corey, a.k.a. Time Filler, I'm going to do what Corey gets to do because I'm a graduate. You went to the wrong school, Corey. I'm sorry, but you're kind of – Cash is back.
Where did he go to school? Did he went to Iowa State?
I'm not happy with you.
Oh.
Real quick, Lomansky, where did the other Corey go to school?
Well, he didn't want to confess it. Did you see that? He skipped that.
He said he went to a different school, so I don't know where he went.
Yeah, gutless wonder.
Go ahead.
I'm kidding, Corey. Don't be throwing crap at the TV or at your radio.
No, he'll shoot one back. He's fine. Go ahead.
But you got more guts than me because I would treat Cash in a hell of a lot more sister-brother way than you do. My Lord, Corey, you're feeling your oats. But anyway, from a 10,000-foot view, I got to reword this. My flowers go out to Cash because way long time ago, she talked about Miss Guyton. And I quickly followed it up. I thought the same thing, but she got in the door first. I followed her up, and not even the great Corey Bratta got on the bandwagon. He had to put it through the process of his brain and didn't get out of his brain fast enough. Okay. Furthermore, I think it's fascinating that Cash is right on so many things because she's a coach. I think it's amazing that Guyton gets the attempt to win the game in regulation.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot what Jan Jensen thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the guts to debate Cash on what the play should be? Who else, Corey, is going to get their own shot? I mean, you look at the people on the floor, I'm going like, that's exactly the person
I'm not
that can create a shot.
Okay, for the record, I was not questioning
who shot it.
I'm not questioning who shot it. I was simply talking about timing because I didn't think she was going to get it off in time, and she barely did. But she did get it off in time, and to Kachine's point, had it gone in, it would have counted, and we'd be talking about a win and no overtime period. So I will admit I was wrong on that because I think I'm in the minority on that opinion. So go ahead.
That's why I love you, man. That's why you're my favorite broadcaster. When you're wrong, you back the truck up awful fast. I admire you for that.
Back it up.
My last comment, so I can get out of here, because sometimes I review my talks and I'm a moron. That was my favorite comment on the meeting.
I was going to say, we don't need two
podcast
callers calling
tonight.
themselves morons. So we
No, if it's accurate, it's got to be said. Cash would agree with that. If you're a moron, you should admit you're a moron. But
fair point.
I think what this team, I'm still pretty positive. This team had coaches on the floor last year. We had 2 coaches on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And to be sarcastic, or not sarcastic, I don't know what the right word is, but Lisa Bluta had to go home at night going, man, I didn't have to coach tonight. I got two alphas doing the coaching for me. I shouldn't even get paid this much. And we don't really have that for our head coach this year. And I wish people would understand that. That is just, you can fine tune your team, but the team has to go make the free throws. The team has to hit the 3-point shot that'll make a difference. And the best comment that I've heard on this podcast in months is that Cash's take on triple teaming somebody and leaving us exposed, and I'm not going to pick on her because I picked on her enough last podcast, and I don't like to call players' names out, but we triple teamed and left ourselves open. That I saw that. I've never yelled at the TV more because you know what that reminded me of, Corey? I was upset. It reminded me of the Iowa men's game where they're at the top on the elbow, and 2 Hawkeyes run out to play great defense. Like, oh, I don't have a guy to assign to me. I'm going to double team and steal the ball. And the other team does a layup, and it happened like a half a dozen times, Corey, during the men's game. And I should have been playing for the Hawks. I know that much about basketball. Like, God. Anyway, we have a great show. I'm thrilled I got to call after Corey from Michigan. That's the greatest accomplishment since I started listening to you for years back. And I consider myself a victory.
You didn't fall asleep, Lance.
Oh, gee.
Corey, when I lose a game like this, I could talk to you all freaking night. I am charged. I won't go to bed till 3 a.m.
Well, the other night we were on pretty late, so we're not going to do that tonight. But, yeah, when you have men's basketball games tipping off at 9:30 p.m. Central Time, that makes for a late night. That would have been, Kachine, I should have had you on the postgame show. So Gary didn't join me because it would have been 12:30 a.m. by the time 12:45 a.m. by the time we got on the air, his time. So that would have been 12:45 your time as well. Did you watch the entire Iowa USC game, the men?
No, I had COVID, so.
Okay. All right. Anyways.
But we've had that situation before, though, like where it was like midnight where I was at.
Yeah. So, yeah, that just happened a little bit more with you on the East Coast. The men will be UCLA tomorrow night, so we'll have another late night tomorrow. Lemansky, appreciate you being here, sir. It's always a joy to talk to you, and we appreciate your donations as well.
I only got one more thing, just like the Michigan people. One more thing, maybe 2, like the Michigan people. But the neat thing that you have to talk to Cash about, there you go. Around the Hawkeye Horn, Amanda, one of my favorite people. We're going to have Around the Hawkeye Horn. I want to nominate Corey from Michigan, but we can't have Around the Hawkeye Horn because we can only have one person talking. So you figure that out between the 2 of you. Get back to that. We have to have Eric on there because we've got to have his little Discord and debate and a little fury. And Cash should be there. And Corey, you should be in the corner moderating, not saying much. So with that, I'll say good night. And I wouldn't be so hard on you, but I donate enough, so have a good night.
I appreciate it, sir. Appreciate Lemansky being here, and
he's funny.
Appreciate the support. Dom, I am not going to be bought tonight. So the other night, people kept saying, "I'll send you a donation if we stay longer." Then Dom's like, "Well, I want to call in." It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I'm like,
"Oh wow!"
And he's like, "Well, I'll send you a donation." And he sent me $5 and let him call in. So, and then his call dropped. Nobody could hear him. I didn't realize this until afterwards. Nobody could hear him. So anyways, we've got one more person on the phone line. I think we're done. So let's go quick fire on the chat. Mitchell says, up 11, fell apart. Absolutely. That's the frustrating thing is they were so close, but they lost a different way. And certainly one that slipped away and to lose at home against a very good team. This is a good Nebraska team that's won 4 straight conference games and will be a threat in March. Ron says players need to make free throws. Kachine, how do players improve free throw shooting? I think we talked about this. They're mental. You're just when you get in the gym to shoot free throws, you're just wanting to see the ball go in, but ultimately it comes down to upstairs, correct?
Yes.
John says Ava Hayden. Where was she? Well, when you play Pokey at the 5, Grady's minutes are cut, and who's the odd person out? It's Ava Hayden.
It sure is.
Now, I do think you could maybe figure out a way to split time between Hayden and O'Grady a bit more, because I don't know that O'Grady's been so much better than Hayden all year, especially defensively against Markowski. I was a little surprised we didn't see some of Ava Hayden, and there were a lot of fouls called in this game. I don't know what the total was for. Let me find that. I got the box score in front of me. Let's see. O'Grady finished with just 1 foul. Well, there's the reason. Hannah had 3. So actually, they did a pretty good job defending Markowski without fouling. But again, just they don't have enough minutes to go around if Hannah's playing the 5. Let's see. We have a user here who wants to know about the half-court offense. Why is Taylor Strimlow standing at the top of the key, just holding the ball? What is that half-court offense? Well, are we referring to especially overtime?
I mean, it's kind of been a little bit of a thing I've started to notice with her. It's like it's not so much the offense just gets stuck. It's like a black hole. I don't know. She holds on to the ball way too long. Like the ball's got to move. Like maybe how they handle it with her is like she's got like 2 seconds to figure out what she's doing, or she got to pass the ball. Like she holds on to it way too long. And then the girls are just moving constantly, or if they don't move, then nothing's happening. So, yeah.
Michael says Guyton is the leader of the team. I'd give her the reins. Mike says lay off Lucy. She's stronger than you know.
Sure.
Okay.
Show me. That's all I got.
Hey, show me, right?
Show me.
That's true. Fair point. Fair response.
Just like with Taylor McCabe. I was on her hard last year. She can't guard her shadow. And what did Taylor do? She is guarding her shadow. It may not be fantastic, but she's guarding her shadow. Good job, Taylor.
You and I both think she's probably a starter right now.
Good job. I'm not mad at her. So, Lucy, show me.
Yeah. We're not talking about her ability to score, but she's still a leading scorer on this team. But they need more from her. They need more efficiency. They need toughness. They need free throw shooting. She's been a good free throw shooter until tonight, so I'm sure she'll take that and run and hopefully fulfill the goal there. Patrick says, I don't like Jan pumping up the crowd. Seems desperate. Let the crowd do its thing. You coach. She's also very active on social media. That's just her, Kachine. You want to come to the defense of your former?
Yeah, I don't know about that because if I was the head coach, I'd be pumping up the crowd. I'm just a. If you ever watch me play basketball, I'm a fist pumper. I'm yelling. I'm screaming. Yeah. So I can't. That's not for me. You're probably used to Coach Bluter. That's not really what she does because she's not really that rah kind of person. So.
Drew didn't like the decision not to call a timeout before the McCabe 3. Ryan agrees. He thought it was quick. I wish there was a play that was run. I didn't mind the 3. I thought the 3 was a good 3. I mean, if you want anybody shooting that, you want McCabe shooting it. She just missed it. I didn't mind the shot at all. Kachine, your thoughts?
I don't really have much. I wouldn't say I'm not either or. I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe I would have thought it would be a better play, but I'm not mad at the shot. I'm just kind of like.
So what shot? I'm trying to remember when this occurred. When did this occur exactly?
I'm trying to remember the exact
shot. It was a deep 3.
It was deep, right in front of the bench. I remember. I don't remember exactly what happened. Oh, I think it was in transition. Actually,
yes,
it was in transition, and Sydney Falter, which I wish she would have looked the other direction because the other direction, Aaliyah Guyton was running on that other side and she was wide open too. So, but nonetheless, she went with Taylor McCabe. She pitched it to her and she shot it from deep.
Okay. So 15, thank you, Bat. Yeah. 15 seconds left in over. That was my question because then Nebraska came down and missed 2 free throws. That's what happened.
Yeah. Like I'm not like, I don't hate it. I just wish she would have taken her time. Taylor McCabe gets like antsy a lot of the times. Like she just want, and I knew as soon as it left in her hand, I was like, oh. Well,
that's one thing I want. I honestly though, she's the best 3-point shooter in the country as it relates to percentage. I don't have an issue with it because it was actually a decent look.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not mad at it. I said I wish she would have taken her time. because she had time.
I wish that Aaliyah had taken that last 3 and not given it to Sid. It's a pretty good look, though, for a falter. It's a pretty good look.
It was.
She ain't shooting free throws. She ain't shooting threes well.
No.
So, double trouble, dad squad. Jan stating Aaliyah Guyton is their vocal leader is wild. If the seniors need a freshman to get them inspired, then get off the floor. You agree with that?
Sometimes freshmen just have it. Like they just have that. Leaders are born. They're not made. So no matter where you are, no matter who you are, if you come in, you're gonna demand that. That's just who you are. It's written all over you.
Charles wants to know, Kachine, where do you get the hoodie snuggie?
Oh, this one's from Temu.
It's from Temu?
Oh, however you say it. Heck, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
got all of my snuggies from there. I love this place because they got the cool ones, like with the fruits and the, all the other stuff on it, and they got good colors. Like you guys can't see this color, but it's like really bright.
I'm gonna ask you after this is over how much those are because I'm shocked that they're on Temu. I guess I always thought a Temu was just a bunch of chinky crap, but
I bought furniture on Temu. What are you talking about?
I think my wife's bought. I know she's bought clothes on Temu. So I just didn't. I don't.
Nah, clothes for me on Temu ain't it. That's not gonna fit me. But I could definitely do furniture or like this kind of stuff or like house stuff. Yes.
Okay. Michael Bubba Schultz, Corey, you cover Iowa Hawkeye athletics. When will you start covering men's wrestling? Well, I went over this before, Michael. I do appreciate the request, but let me just make something very clear. Yeah, Patrick said it's pronounced Temu. I
see it. Okay, listen, we're learning. Temu. Okay.
So let me just make something very clear. I would love to be able to cover wrestling. There's a couple of problems. I don't know wrestling. Like I'm not a wrestling guy. That's A, and then B, I don't have time. Like I barely have time. Frank, I mean, I love doing this, but I mean, doing both men's and women's basketball in addition to
football.
The other parts of my life that also take even more time than this, I simply don't have time. I would love to be able to do that. And if I had somebody that was working with me as a host that could do that, I'd be able to do it. But maybe down the line, I've never shut the door on it. And I have done at least one post duel after an Iowa-Penn State game. But then Penn State match, right? Duel.
It's okay. Anywho,
I got ripped after that, Kachine. Because here's the deal, like this, you're a baller yourself, but like I've lived and breathed sports since I was a little kid. I can, we can come on here and talk football, basketball, tennis. I can talk some base, and I've done more baseball on here than wrestling. But I know next to nothing wrestling. At golf, I can talk about golf. I know nothing about wrestling, so.
You got me volleyball, basketball, and a little bit of football. That's it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I got ripped. Not ripped, but somebody criticized me. They thought I should have covered the golf amateur, the U.S. Open, and played really well from Iowa. They thought that would have been an opportunity to come on here and get a lot of views. And I'm like, man, I like golf, but I don't know how I relate that to Hawkeye sports. But anyways. Lemansky with the super chat. Corey, Temu has furniture. You should know that. He. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I'm new to it, though. So, yeah.
That's just great. All right, folks. The Nebraska Cornhuskers defeating your Iowa Hawkeyes after.
Wasn't there a person on hold? Or no? They left.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That person. My bad. Yeah, this happened before. Season worst free throw percentage for Iowa. 16-29, good for 55% from the line. Let's go to our last caller of the night. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line? And caller, have you liked the video yet on YouTube?
Yes, I have.
All right. Well, welcome here. You're welcome now that you've liked the video and you've waited on for 30 minutes. Welcome to the show.
Hey, this is John.
Hey, John.
Oh, this
is more. What?
This the guy we be thinking sound like Lemansky. Yeah. I remember you, John. Go ahead.
I was going to say this is moron, and I'm tired of people impersonating me, but I was afraid you'd hang up on me, so I didn't do it.
See, I can tell you are distinct in my mind, John. You've been calling in long enough. I clearly know the difference between you and Lemansky. So I never mistook you for Lemansky. That's like mistaking Amazon for Temu. Like, no way. I'm not telling you. I'm not saying who.
I was going to say who Amazon and who Temu, but I ain't going to start no foolishness. Go ahead, John.
A friend of mine's a marriage counselor and a social worker, and he said when people are uncomfortable, they have two choices. They can cry or they can smile, and they don't want you to see them cry, so they smile. So maybe that's Lucy's deal.
See?
I honestly, like I said before, I think that's her go-to. Mm-hmm. And like I say, I can understand that, but I also understand where Kachine is coming from when she says you need someone who, like, personality is important as it relates to leadership in anything. Kachine, some people, there's a term natural born leaders, and I'm not saying that Lucy's not. In some professions, maybe she would be. I don't know that she's proven yet at Iowa that she's a natural born leader here. I think she's proven across her college basketball career that she's a really good basketball player. Nobody's doubting that. But is she a natural born leader, especially for a place like Iowa right now? And it's hard because you're filling shoes. You know, nobody expects you to be Caitlin Clark, but those are the biggest shoes you could have possibly set foot in when you got to Iowa. So, yeah, I think she's uncomfortable at times, and I think I admire her positivity. I think it's phenomenal. I love watching it, but not when you're missing free throws. So.
He's got questions. I've got answers. Callie Levine is being a great team player or team member, and she's stuck behind Taylor Stremlo, Taylor McCabe, and somebody else that I don't remember. And I asked, is she going to see the floor this year? And I got a real quick no.
Who said that?
Jan Jensen.
On the radio?
No. After the show, when I talked to her in person.
You asked her, let me just make something very clear. You asked the head coach, is Callie Levine going to see the floor? And she said no.
Yes.
Is she not? Why does that? Should I
be it's true. I don't know.
I know, but I'm just surprised that she would say that. But
I mean, she not. So
well, but you never say never. If two players go down with injury, then
I mean, here's the thing. Well, maybe she didn't think he was going to go on the podcast and say it, but either way, at the end of the day, she probably isn't.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah.
Even Taylor Stremlo and somebody else I don't remember that they were outplaying her is the reason she's not playing.
Yeah,
okay.
So she's stuck behind them.
Yeah, Aaliyah Guyton.
So anyway,
any more answers for us, John?
Do you know the meaning of life?
The meaning of life?
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about it after the show. You give me a call.
Well, it's no parole.
It's what?
It's an old joke. What's the meaning of life? No parole.
No parole? What?
Oh, come on, Corey. You didn't really.
I'm slow, I guess.
I guess. Life is no parole. You're doing life.
Oh.
You're not. Come on, Corey. Lord have mercy.
I gotcha.
That's that Ames for you. That's the water over there.
They lose something. Hey, Kachine, they lose something when you have to explain them, don't they?
I know, right?
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your call. Always enjoy him. He's one of our better callers. Let me just say that. Shout out to John. He's always an excellent caller with great questions, great answers, and the fact that he's having conversations with Jan. It's great.
Oh, remember, he was the one that said he had showed Coach Jay something I had said. Remember?
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
He's down.
He's getting the tea. I don't know how.
John is involved.
John is like inside man or something.
He follows through too.
Yeah, he does.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Folks, you can donate to the show, support the show, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. It's all in the description. So if you have not considered doing that, even if it's just a few dollars, it would help. Bast Fuser, where'd you get your shirt at, Corey? Normally, everybody's asking Kachine about her awesome wardrobe and where she's getting her Snuggie and where, this. I don't know that I can come up with a specific store where I purchased this, but I know where I bought it. I bought it in Sarasota, Florida. And I'll tell you why. Does anybody want to know why? This is maybe going to interest some people and other people going to start dozing off. The reason why is I have some friends and family down there. When I came down, people who from Iowa probably relate to this. When you go from Iowa to Florida, at times, you're probably not dressed or prepared real well for Siesta Key and like the nightlife in Florida. Now, you probably don't have a problem with that because you're a fashionista, Kachine, but that's not me. I'm not that way. So I had to be taken shopping before we went out. And
you can't.
We went to a nice dinner place. It was like a rooftop bar and grill type.
Yeah, you can't go out looking crazy.
And they're like, jeans and a sweatshirt? No, we're not doing this.
Some places won't even let you in like that.
Well, they went and they helped me get this shirt, and I do like this shirt. So, anyways, I think that's all we got, folks. The Hawkeyes falling at the hands of the Huskers, 87-84 in overtime. They've lost 4 straight. They have lost 4 straight. They'll try to get back on the horse and get a win when they play at Oregon this Sunday, the 19th. Boy, it does not stop. This schedule is a bear. It's 4 p.m. and I'm assuming that is Central Time.
Yeah, so 5 p.m. my time. Okay.
Is that right? 4 p.m. I'm gonna double check.
Let's hope so. Because that 9:30 thing, oh Lord.
Yeah, let's just double check this. Yes, 4 p.m. Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 p.m. your time, and unfortunately, it's on Big Ten Plus. People don't like that, but folks, we'll be back for that, and we'll have post-game coverage following Iowa and Oregon. Again, if you're interested in donating, you can do so by means of the links in our description. If you're interested in sponsorship, shoot me an email, info@fromthehawkeyeofthestorm.com, info@fromthehawkeyeofthestorm.com. Also, share the show out on social media. If you enjoy the content, there are likely dozens, if not hundreds, of other people who don't yet know about the show that would also enjoy the show. So help others know about it, find it, discover it, etc. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, share it out on social media, talk about it in your chats, in your forums, in your groups, whatever the case may be. Word of mouth is still very powerful. If you're interested in purchasing from the Hawkeye of the Storm gear, you can do so. That's also a link to that is in the description as well. Kachine, always a pleasure, and good to know you're feeling better. And we'll talk to you after a win, hopefully on Sunday.